Howdy, partners. Today we're diving into the wild, wild west to uncover 5 of the most iconic gunslingers you need to know about. These men lived lives full of grit, danger, and legend. Their names still echo through the canyons and deserts, whispered with respect and a touch of fear. Saddle up and let's ride. We're headed back to a time when the law was as unpredictable as a desert storm, and a man's reputation traveled faster than a bullet. We're going to meet these legends face to face, learn what made them tick, and understand why their stories still captivate us today. Get ready for tales of gunsmoke and showdowns, of loyalty and betrayal. This is the real Wild West, folks, and these are the men who wrote its history in blood and lead. Born Henry McCarty, he was just a kid, barely old enough to shave, when he earned the moniker Billy the Kid. But don't let his youth fool you. This young man was already a seasoned outlaw, a card sharp, and a lightning-fast draw. He drifted from town to town, leaving a trail of whispered stories and nervous glances in his wake. Some say he killed 21 men, one for each year of his life. Truth or exaggeration, the legend of his quick temper and even quicker trigger finger followed him like a shadow. He got caught, of course, thrown in jail like a caged animal, but Billy wasn't meant to be caged. He killed 2 deputies and made a daring escape, a feat that only added to his growing legend. He was hunted by Sheriff Pat Garrett, a lawman who knew the territory and understood the young outlaw's ways. They say Garrett finally caught up with Billy in a darkened room, ending the young gunslinger's life with a single bullet. But did he? Some say Billy survived that night, that he lived out his days under a different name, haunted by the ghosts of his past. We may never know the full truth, but that's the thing about legends. They have a way of outliving the men who inspire them. Billy the Kid, a brash young man who lived fast and died young, forever etched in the annals of the Wild West as a symbol of rebellion, and a time when justice was often served at the end of a gun. Wyatt Earp, the name conjures up images of steely-eyed determination and unwavering courage. He was a lawman, a gambler, a man who walked tall in a world determined to break him. He wasn't afraid of much, least of all a fight. And in the dusty streets of Tombstone, Arizona, he found plenty of opportunities to prove it. He stood shoulder to shoulder with his brothers, Virgil and Morgan, and their friend, the deadly Doc Holliday. The Clantons and McClorys, a ruthless gang of outlaws, had Tombstone in a chokehold, but Wyatt Earp wasn't about to let any town be ruled by fear. He stood up to them, a badge of the law pinned to his chest, a Colt revolver heavy in his hand. The tension erupted in a vacant lot behind the OK Corral. It was a chaotic whirlwind of gunfire and flying dust. When the smoke cleared, 3 cowboys lay dead, and Wyatt Earp and his posse had cemented their place in history. The gunfight at the OK Corral, a 30-second shootout that echoed through the ages, a testament to Wyatt Earp's unwavering commitment to justice, or at least his version of it. He wasn't a perfect man, this Wyatt Earp, but he was a man of his word, a man who lived by a code, and who faced danger head-on. He's a reminder that even in the wildest corners of the West, there were those who stood for something more, who fought for order in a world teetering on the edge of chaos. Jesse James, the name alone could send shivers down the spine of a banker, or bring a hopeful smile to the face of a struggling farmer. He was a Robin Hood of the rails, robbing from the rich, or at least from the banks and trains he believed represented them. He rode with his brother Frank and the notorious younger gang, leaving a trail of empty vaults and shattered expectations in their wake. But Jesse was more than just a bandit. He was a symbol of defiance, a thorn in the side of the establishment. He had stared down death during the Civil War, fought on the losing side, and emerged with a chip on his shoulder and a distrust of authority that ran deep. He saw the railroads and banks as vultures, preying on the common man, and he decided to fight back the only way he knew how. Newspapers sensationalized his exploits, turning him into a mythical figure, a devil to some, an angel to others. But behind the legend was a man, flawed and complex, driven by a need for revenge, a yearning for justice, and maybe just a touch of wildness that couldn't be tamed. In the end, it wasn't a hail of bullets that brought Jesse James down, but betrayal, shot in the back by a member of his own gang. A man promised a hefty reward for ending the outlaw's reign. Jesse James, a man who lived by his own rules, a symbol of rebellion against a system he believed was rigged against him. He's a reminder that history is rarely black and white, and that sometimes the line between hero and outlaw is as thin as a shadow cast by a flickering lamp. John Henry Doc Holliday, a man who lived with death breathing down his neck. He was a gambler, a dentist, a man of contradictions, as comfortable in a high-stakes poker game as he was facing down a foe in the dusty street. Tuberculosis, a disease that slowly chipped away at his lungs, had given him a grim deadline. But Doc Holliday wasn't one to waste his remaining time cowering in the shadows. He lived with an intensity that few could match, a fire in his eyes that spoke of both pain and a fierce determination to live life on his own terms. He was a skilled gambler, his mind sharp as a tack, his fingers moving with a deftness that could clean a man out of his life savings before he knew what hit him. But it was his skill with a gun that made him a legend. He was lightning fast, deadly accurate, a force to be reckoned with in a world where survival often depended on the speed of your draw. He found kinship with Wyatt Earp, a bond forged in mutual respect and a shared understanding of the dangerous game they were playing. They stood together, two men facing down a town full of outlaws, their loyalty to each other as strong as the steel in their holsters. Doc Holliday, a man who stared death in the face and never blinked, who lived life with a reckless abandon that both fascinated and terrified those who crossed his path. He's a reminder that even in the face of mortality there's room for courage, for loyalty, and for a touch of wildness that can't be extinguished. Wild Bill Hickok, a name synonymous with the Wild West itself. He was a scout, a lawman, a gambler, a showman, a man who seemed to embody the very spirit of the frontier. He was a towering figure with flowing hair and a handlebar mustache that seemed to bristle with adventure. He had a stare that could stop a man in his tracks and a reputation as a gunfighter that preceded him like a desert wind. Stories of his exploits spread like wildfire. Tales of incredible marksmanship, daring escapes, and unwavering courage. He was a legend in his own time, a symbol of a bygone era when the West was still wild and untamed. He was known to be cool under pressure, a master of strategy and a skilled hand with both cards and firearms. He had a knack for finding trouble, but an even greater knack for getting out of it alive, at least most of the time. But even legends are mortal. Wild Bill's luck ran out in a Deadwood saloon. He was shot in the back while playing poker, a hand of aces and eights clutched in his lifeless hand. The hand, forever known as the dead man's hand, became a chilling reminder of the suddenness of fate and the fragility of life on the frontier. Wild Bill Hickok, a man who lived large and died tragically, his life a testament to the allure and the danger of the Wild West. He left behind a legacy of tales that continue to captivate and inspire, a reminder of a time when men like him roamed the frontier, carving their names into the fabric of history with every daring feat and every bullet fired. Thanks for joining us on this wild ride through history. We've met some of the most legendary figures of the Wild West, men who lived and died by their own code. They were flawed, for sure, but they were also products of their time, shaped by the harsh realities of life on the frontier. Their stories, passed down through generations, offer a glimpse into a world long gone, a world of saloons and showdowns, of dusty trails and untamed wilderness. They remind us of a time when courage was tested daily, and when a man's reputation was his most valuable possession. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more legendary tales from the past. Until next time, happy trails.